Welcome to the NFP podcast, where we explore the empowering world of natural family planning. I'm Amy Smith. Join me and my co-host Emily Appledorn each week. Together, we're here to dive deep into the science, the stories, and the spirituality behind NFP. Every week, we push back against the free love culture and advocate for a culture of responsible love, where intentionality and respect are at the forefront of family planning. Join us as we discuss everything from the practicalities of charting and fertility awareness to the profound impact NFP can have on relationships and communities. Whether you're new to NFP or a seasoned pro, our podcast is your go-to resource for honest conversations, expert insights, and real-life experiences. So grab a friend, settle in, and get ready to be inspired. This is the NFP podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight, Emily is not with us, so I am going to do solo hosting, and we bring you a love story, which I'm really excited to share with you. Some friends of mine, Dan and Mary, are with us to share their experience of what God has done in their lives individually and collectively as a couple. So welcome to the podcast, guys.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I told them before we started recording, I was like, I have to focus. We have 1 hour and we have stuff to talk about because I just love you guys. So I could talk on a lot of different things and chit chat. But all right. So because everyone else doesn't know how great you are, we'll start with how you guys met and got engaged. So whoever wants to kick us off. They're pointing at each other. You go.
Yeah. So we met in college. I was a freshman and Dan was a junior. And we just had a lot of overlapping interests. We were involved in the Catholic community together in college and the pro-life club. We actually lived in the same dorm. And the funny story is Dan was living with some Catholic roommates. So we went to a private university that was not Catholic. And Dan was outside on this bench praying the rosary with some friends who... Yeah, they just started it like the night before, and I walked by and said, "You guys, I'm Catholic. Like, how come you didn't invite me?" So that was kind of another way that we, interacted and overlapping interests. So we dated for 5 years, and then we got married in 2011. So it's been 14 years of marriage.
So you were, so you made that comment about the rosary, and then how did you guys start dating?
So we were friends for most of my freshman year, and he asked me out in April of that year. And he just asked me out, like, want to go to date with me? And then a month later, he took me back, no, not to the same spot, a different cafe. Mm. And he asked me, actually, in a poem to be his girlfriend. And it was really very so cute. Sweet. And even more meaningful, it was really important to him that we both understood it was a courtship, that we were going to be dating to discern marriage. Mm. And two things. We read a book called Christian Courtship in an Oversexed World, which was really eye-opening and life-changing, I think, for both of us. And he also asked my parents' permission just for us to date. He wanted them to be, aware of our relationship, to be involved, to just know, this is what we're taking this very seriously. And, I really want to take care of your daughter and get to know her. So
I have a question before we continue on the dating engagement story.
Yeah.
Was that at all did it damper your fun of dating? Because I think some people might say, that sounds so serious. Did you guys laugh at all? Did you have fun?
Oh, that's funny.
Enjoyable?
No, I mean, we essentially, dated, but with the purpose of okay, we're discerning marriage, not just where is this going? We're just having fun.
Yeah, I had my tweed jacket on with elbow patches and made sure that we were studiously discerning marriage. No, I mean, that's the very short version of kind of how we met and started to get to know each other. But it started with when we first met, there was more fun and joking and lots of laughing. And pranks because we lived in the same dorm. And thanks be to God, we were guided to just be friends for several months, even though I think we could both tell there there was some interest there. Thankfully brought Mary into a different relationship for a little while.
I left that part out on purpose.
which had some potential, but maybe not long-term potential. I think the Lord can use things like that to kind of help the heart grow fonder and stronger in that longing for each other. But yeah, when she said we were friends for maybe it's like 6 to 8 months before we started to talk about entering into a courtship, it was a blast. And then even the first year of our dating, it felt like a honeymoon year of just joys and really enjoying each other's company so much. So yeah, thanks for asking that though.
And not just the first year.
Especially the first year, but yeah, no, it has continued.
The other years were fun too.
What's that?
You said the other years were fun too.
Absolutely. No, we've been very blessed. But I think part of that is the humility that was maybe fostered in us by having read this book that Mary, a couple of books that Mary mentioned. And part of the background there is I had that had been Mary's first boyfriend that we mentioned a minute ago. I had many more girlfriends than that. So by the time I'd gotten to this point in my young life in college, I had realized I had been doing things not wisely. And so I wanted to do them maybe more sustainably or correctly in the eyes of the Lord. But then I met Mary and I was like, great, I think she's a great girl to like try to pursue to discern marriage. So I want to do the right thing, but I don't know what the right thing is. I have no idea what to do. So thankfully, found this book that, like Mary said, was life-changing for both of us. I read it and was like totally sold. Like, this is a beautiful vision for what a Catholic courtship should look like. And I was like, I tried to present it to her very
diplomatically.
Yeah, not like, hey, you need to read this, but hey, I read this and I really, really am on board with all of this. It'd be really helpful if you could read it and help us to know if we're on the same page. And we both really loved the book. It was it really spoke to our hearts and
good foundation.
Opened up new thoughts and horizons and whatnot.
That's excellent. Yeah, I'll link that in the show notes for people that are curious and want to check that out. The reason I asked that, Dan, is obviously I recognize it's not like a boring time to be dating. I say, because, Emily and I have talked about this before about intentionally dating, and that dating should be dating for a purpose. And while I think to some, when they hear that, they might think that sounds boring. Like, okay, so we're just like sitting around staring at each other thinking, are we going to get married, or just asking each other a bunch of questions the whole time? And like, actually, like most things, I feel like in the realm of God, is that when you have clear boundaries on things and you have a purpose, you have so much more joy and freedom. I mean, like, Joy and I had the best dating years. We had the best dating years. It was so much fun. Like,
and you're not
and movies and dinners and like you just have fun because you just know certain things are we're on the same page. Like there's a goal here, and we're okay if like the answer is no ultimately. Like, okay, maybe we're not called to marriage. But if we do believe we are called to marriage, or if we're not called to marriage, we're still going to act the same way in different areas, especially when it comes to, human sexuality and how we're going to engage in that realm. So, yeah, I just wanted to highlight to say, like, no, it's not boring to enter into a courtship, to enter into a relationship with a very specific goal. Like, okay, we need to discern if God's calling us together or not. And then we need to go our separate ways. If not, just kind of don't waste time,
Yeah, and for me, it was, I don't like uncertainty. I want to be like, okay, what is our goal? What is the future? And to be like, okay, we're discerning marriage is not like, does he like me? Does he want a future with me? Does he like, and because we had the freedom to discuss those things because we were discerning marriage. So I think some relationships are just like, they kind of meander and it's like, where is this going? I don't know. Right. So, I would just be like, what are your intentions? What is going on? I probably would have been demanding that anyways, even if we hadn't read that book.
The only thing I would add to that very briefly is you said that this, it's good to have a purpose in this endeavor, just like anything else with God. But I would add, just like anything else in the secular world too. I mean, there's like the very famous, 7 habits, and one of them is begin with the end in mind. And that principle is helpful to make people effective in other facets of life. So yes, all the more so in the most important kind of decision and path for kind of a lifelong journey.
Right. And to Mary's point, and that as well, is not to slide into the decision. There's a whole social science theory out there right now about sliding versus deciding, that the way that we approach the dating relationship and the pre-marriage relationship is, it's just kind of fun. We don't really have like the intense, serious conversations we need to be having during that time. And we know we like each other. We have good times together. We have all the fun stuff. And, we're attracted to each other enough. So then we like move in together, and then we get like a dog together, and then we get like a cell phone plan together. And then we just like, whoop. And now 4 years later, I guess we're going to like get married because.
Yeah, or 12 years later or something like that.
Right. Exactly. Or a long time ago.
I didn't know that was a social science thing. I'm a big fan of Father Mike Schmitz, and he's on a few of his homilies in the past few months. He's talked about no one glides toward the Olympics. If you want to set out to do something great, yeah, it's with intentionality and some form of measure of high measure of discipline in that case. But it's the discipline that helps help us to be more free in achieving our bigger and more challenging goals.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's from, I forget his name now, Scott Stanley something. He's from the University of Colorado, but yeah, he has that theory. It's called sliding versus deciding. So, okay. Yeah. So let's get back to your story. Okay. So dating, intentional dating, and then how do you propose to Mary? Because that's like the really fun part.
Yeah. So, we met when Mary was a freshman. I was a junior. Fast forward about 5 years. I had recently graduated and was getting ready to go to leave for graduate school the following fall, which was helpful to have a forcing function for me to I don't think I was necessarily afraid of commitment, but at the same time, it's like it was helpful to put a deadline on, like, okay, I need to get my act together.
Yeah, we would have never gotten married during college. So yeah, it was after college, and yeah, you were about to leave for business school.
Yeah, so that helped me quickly discern, like, okay, I'm not gonna go. I was gonna go literally the other side of the country, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that without making this much more official. So you're asking kind of our engagement story?
Yeah, the story. Yeah, the fun part. How did you pop the question?
It's kind of a long story.
I can tell it.
Okay.
Dan is very detailed. So Dan planned actually a day of surprises for me. So it was the day before Valentine's Day. He said, I want to celebrate Valentine's Day early. I forgot what his reason was, but I was a little
Saturday, so
I was a little suspicious, and I was like, okay. And so he actually took us to daily mass. He actually arranged ahead of time a private appointment for us each to go to confession with a priest. And then we went to mass together.
If she wanted to, not that it was forced.
Okay,
it was an invitation.
We obviously, this is something that we did. It was fine.
It was an invitation.
And then he took me across, we lived in San Francisco at the time. And so he took me across the Golden Gate Bridge to this beautiful restaurant for brunch. We had the view of the Golden Gate Bridge. We sat on the porch, and it was just like gorgeous. Then he would slip me an envelope every time, like to the next thing. So the next thing was a chocolate tasting tour through San Francisco, and we went all around. Chocolate's like my favorite thing ever, still is. And then he took me to, there's a beautiful Perpetual Adoration Chapel in San Francisco where, is it a convent also? The sisters pray there. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted to propose to me there, but the sisters were praying like out loud, and it was like, this doesn't seem appropriate. And he was kind of like freaking out. And so we got in the car, and he was like on his phone, like, okay, where are we going to go? Like, this is not the way it's supposed to go. And in San Francisco, University of San Francisco, St. Ignatius on the campus. We stopped there, and we jumped out of the car, and they were just locking it up. And he said, hey, can we just go inside for just a second? And the guy was like, okay, make it quick. So we went inside. He took me up to the front, and we knelt in front of the statue of Our Lady to the side of the altar, and we kind of prayed. And I was kind of praying like, Lord, like if it doesn't happen now, please don't let me be mad. And and so we got up, and then he, just like he read a poem to ask me to be his girlfriend, he started to read a poem to ask me to be his wife. And then he knelt down and gave me the ring. And I was worried like that day, like, oh my God, am I going to cry? Because I'm kind of like expecting it. I totally like burst into tears. And he was like, yes, is that a yes? And I was like, yes, it's yes. So then we went out to dinner. It was just so lovely. And then we went back to his apartment. He said, "Hey, I got to grab something before I drop you off at your house, at your apartment." And we went upstairs, and there was a huge surprise party with all of our friends from college.
Oh,
It was
that's
fun.
so cool.
So it was just like the most perfect day ever.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
And the rest is history. Yeah. And
Wow.
just
Oh
a
my
beautiful
gosh.
day.
That's so beautiful. So how long after your engagement did you guys get married?
We had about a 15-month engagement because we got engaged in February, and then Dan left that summer to go to business school. And then it wasn't until the next summer, like after his first year of school, he literally drove across the country, got his tux, and like went to the church. And like that was, I mean, not quite, but
There was a couple
it
more
was
days,
like,
but yeah, it was
like days. Yeah.
it's a pretty exciting week there.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that is such a cool engagement story. That is such a cool engagement story.
Good
well
job,
done,
Dan.
Dan. Yeah, good job. Yeah. Usually it's fun, those stories. I feel like it does make the gentleman look very good.
Yeah.
Whatever he
He did a good
decides to do. So that's great. Okay. Okay, what a beautiful way to start off your relationship. So it sounds like just based on the kind of the details you've given so far that you both we're going to kind of enter into the conversation now, kind of highlighting the aspect of church teaching that we focus on in this podcast, which is, human sexuality and our understanding of chastity within marriage and outside of marriage and what God calls us to. So I'd like to kind of set the stage, since it sounds like you guys had just an atheistic relationship before you got engaged. So that's very sarcastically. It's very sarcastically I'm saying that. So you guys were obviously well-formed in your faith and loved the Lord and wanted to honor him with your relationship and how you behaved in your relationship prior to getting married, which is laudable, especially meeting in college as college students. So let's just dive a little bit into how did you get there? How did you become a person who learned about church teaching, fell in love with it, obviously, because you can't really practice what the church teaches, I think, unless you fall in love with our Lord, know who he is, and then fall in love with what he says. So let's start with you, Mary. What was it like? Did you learn about the goodness and beauty of human sexuality from your mom and your dad? Did you learn about it at youth group, at college? Kind of where along the way? How were you formed in that area?
Sure. Yeah. I grew up in a very faithful Catholic home. There wasn't a lot of catechesis, but there was a lot of faith demonstrated in the home. So I kind of went to college. I mean, I always knew the faith was true and I never doubted it, but I didn't really know very much. So when I got to college, you kind of have, back then in 2005, it felt like a safe environment to talk to people about what do you believe? And I don't believe that, but you could have conversations and disagree. And it was okay. You walk away respecting each other. Now it feels a little different. But so in college, I started to learn more about, Catholic teachings and this and that. And I don't remember if it was before I went to college or early in those days, I realized, contraception is not okay in the Catholic Church. And I was like, okay. It was like, if the church says that, then that's what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter what I feel it was like, all right, I will do that. Later on, Dan and I read Theology of the Body for Beginners. I think I was, a couple years in college. The second, no, we were already dating. I was in DC when I read it. So I was like a junior. Maybe you had read it before, but it was my first introduction to Theology of the Body. And I just felt like, this is so beautiful. And it impacted the way I saw the world. And it just made the faith make more sense to me. And I thought if everyone read this book, everyone would be Catholic. It just absolutely made sense the way, the family is kind of an image of the Trinity. And it made sense. Maybe I understood contraception is not okay, but it gave words and meaning and depth to that. And I was like, yeah, absolutely sold. We always knew in our conversations, we always knew we wanted a big family. I have just one sister, and I always say, growing up and going to events with all of my cousins, we had 15 cousins on my mom's side of the family. I would have so much fun and just this joy and happiness. Driving home, I would just be crying. And I remember thinking, when I grow up, I'm going to have a big family and there's going to be noise and fun all the time and I'm never going to be away from it. And now we have it. Yeah. And now I wish there was a little bit more silence. But But so that was, or how I learned about the church's teachings on,
Okay. Good.
NFP.
So, I guess not only NFP, up to that point, it sounds like you were kind of like, whatever the church says, like, I trust it, I go with it.
Yeah, that was my view on it.
Right. So no, sex outside of marriage.
No.
Yeah. And so
And my mom was so wonderful. Like, we were not super well catechized, like I said. But my mom, I remember even when I was a child, like little, like not like little, but like, like a young girl growing up, my mom being like, your virginity is a gift. It's a gift that God gave to you that you want to give to your husband. And like, she always made sure that we knew like how precious, like we were a treasure. And so, yeah, she definitely, I grew up understanding like I'm only going to give myself to someone who's worthy of me. I mean, I was like borderline stuck up, maybe not borderline. I was a little stuck up. Like, I am only going to give myself to someone who is worthy of me. And so my mom did a really great job of just instilling that, that self-worth, that self-value, so that I grew up knowing, that was a precious thing I was going to say for my husband one day.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So it wasn't like a shame-based thing or a fear-based thing. It was like, I am a gift. I am a gift.
Yeah.
And I want to be a gift to somebody else. Yeah, that's beautiful. And then so as you were then during your dating years with Dan, you learned theology of the body and you kind of learned the theology of it. Like,
exactly.
This is why I'm a gift. This is why that union is a gift. This is because this union images the Trinity. Like, this is no joke. This isn't something man-made. This is something divine.
Yes.
Okay. So kind of more pieces unraveled.
Exactly. It was like, oh, okay, this is how this fits together. And
right.
Now I feel like I can explain this to someone who's not Catholic. Like, people are like, oh, well, why is the church against contraception? It's like, well, there's so much more. It's not just we're not against contraception. It's like, because you were made for something, not
right.
It's just like, people just see like roles, but
right. Okay. That's great. Thanks, Mary. I didn't know most of that. So, and then how about you, Dan? How about you? What was your formation? How did you come to the knowledge of all the goodness?
Yeah, actually, some of that was a good reminder for me that such a beautiful way that Mary's parents kind of guided her heart and helped kind of form it throughout those early years. For me, also grew up in a Catholic home. We went to Mass every Sunday. But not much prayer or time for the Lord outside of that. And I remember just looking back, it just feels like such a undeserved grace that at some point in high school, it kind of just dawned on me one day, like, I think if we really, or at least for myself, I think if I really believed all this stuff that we say we believe when we're in this church building, I think I would be living my life a little bit differently and would want God to be more prominent in it somehow. Not that I knew what that would look like, but that I think started to deepen a journey to deepen my faith and grow in a closer relationship with the Lord. Which came through more frequent confession. One funny thing about when Mary and I first met is I was pretty into Catholic radio at the time. Specifically Catholic Answers Live,
which is something I only thought old ladies were into.
Exactly.
So he met my mom and they both geeked out for a while.
I'm going to tell Joey that because Joey loves Catholic Answers Live. Well, and EWTN, he told me he loved the EWTN blogs and stuff with their answers.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, Joey and I, I'm sure, have a lot in common. So yeah, that was a nice connection right off the bat with Mary's mom. So I think that interest in the faith was deepening over the years. But at the same time, my day-to-day life, I kind of mentioned earlier, wasn't necessarily keeping up. I think I mentioned, had several girlfriends, and got to a point early in college where I was like, well, if I'm gonna, I think I mentioned that earlier already, kind of, that journey, trying to go deeper, sort of intellectual side of the faith, did help get married up with a more personal side when I had decided to take a break from dating earlier on in college and try to wait for a woman who I would actually want to discern marriage with, which is what I touched on earlier. And then again, thanks be to God, I got to that point where it's like, okay, but I don't know. I know what I want to not do, what I don't want to do, but I don't know what to do. So that's where I sought out those books, and that helped really further the journey. And since then, you mentioned at the beginning of this line of questioning, that it sounds like we're relatively well formed. Maybe these today, looking back on it, we've certainly grown so much since then. But over the years, I mean, it's kind of like breadcrumbs, little by little here and there. I mean, maybe some inflection points, but at the same time, just being guided kind of little by little. The image comes to mind. I also am a big fan of Scott Hahn. One of the things he likes to say is that evangelization is just a blind beggar showing another beggar where there's bread. And so kind of feeling our way through and trying to follow other good examples that we were blessed with along the way as well. Friends, older kind of mentors and things like that. So there are a lot of additional people helping guide the path along the way.
So you guys come to your engagement time or your dating time and your engagement time pretty well formed. And then you start to, then the Lord forms you both in your relationship together, which is always beautiful, right? When that kind of comes into that unity, and he uses each other, like in that marriage relationship, for healing and for growth. And it's a humbling experience and a beautiful experience. So you guys are enjoying that and experiencing that. And then you are engaged and you're preparing now to receive your sacrament. What did like the practical NFP part look like? Did you guys, you knew the church's teaching was, okay, well, we can't use artificial means to avoid or achieve a pregnancy. And we kind of understand the why, and we understand the why, right? We're fully on board here. But how do we do that? Like, what does that look like? So did you spend your engagement time doing a lot of NFP classes? Mary, were you already very aware of your body and of how, or Dan, were you aware of the female body and the complementarity and how fertility worked? Kind of what did that like practical application, the NFP learning part look like, and where did it start, and et cetera?
I think before we get into answering that, I just wanted to say, like, when you start learning about that as a couple, it went for people who aren't already being overly physically intimate with each other. It's very tender and holy ground. And I think that, it's something that we went through phases of learning more about, and levels of that kind of vulnerability with each other, deepening. And as with many things, when it comes to children, childbearing, in conception, a lot of the maybe pressure is, I think, more so on the woman than it is on the man. So it's just something that, with the goal of being what's it called? Loving spouse, for the husband. It's just something to be mindful of and aware of it. And that's not something I think I appreciated, going in, but we had, as we did start to take NFP classes during our marriage prep, there was times where it was like, oh wow, this is pretty challenging, primarily for Mary, because that's a lot on, I think, I was gonna say on mom, on the woman, which I think Mary will speak more to.
Sure.
Right.
So yeah,
Mary, let me just say something really quick about that as an NFP teacher and kind of in that space. It's true. The female body is the one that cycles and ovulates, and men are just always fertile, right? So they don't have anything to observe. So in that regard, I do agree with you, Dan. Yes, like the woman is a lot of the monitoring of fertility kind of quote unquote falls on her. But I would also say, what we see come alive in the practice of NFP is what we see and learn about the the truth of theology of the body, that men are called to this high level of self-mastery because they do tend to have, as a majority, in most cases, a much stronger sexual desire because they're always fertile. So their hormones are, it's a usually often a grotesque expression, but I mean it in like a very practical, real way. Like hormones are always raging. Like they're kind of always ready to go as per God's design, which makes sense, right? We have talked about this on the podcast quite a few times. If one of us, male or female, was not always ready, like reproductively speaking, well, then we'd be wandering the earth looking for the person who was perfectly timed with when the female is reproductively ready to go, if that makes sense. Like if everyone was cycling, it would just be like a big hot mess. So we need someone to not be to complement the person who is. And so because of that, the way that men live out chastity in marriage is often a lot more sacrificial and self-denying, because whatever the season is that they're in as a couple, whether they're postpartum or newly pregnant or newly, or newly married and trying to figure things out, whatever it may be, there is that load and that demand on him. It's just a lot different than her. So both carry a weight, but it is different.
100%. I was more reflecting on, so you're right, the practicals of navigating it within marriage. I think the process of learning about it in a class setting, because of the tracking and the cycles and like learning more about the female, what's it called? Biology, physiology, cycles, etc. Mucus. Just a lot more is required, I think, and on the front end for the wife to sort of be a little bit more much more vulnerable. But 100%, I think respecting and being aware of and growing in respect for that vulnerability early on helps set the couple up for what to your point, can be challenging for both the husband and the wife when you actually get into the practicalities.
Right. Okay, Mary. So how did you learn? Did you enter,
Sure. So I knew absolutely nothing about cycles, about, I knew that, my body was different at different times of the month, and, I'd see fertile signs here and there, but I had no idea of like the frequency or like the rhythm or any of that. So we started taking NFP classes. You were away for like from the summer until the next summer. So I guess we did that right in the beginning.
This is during prep?
During marriage prep. And so I started to learn the Creighton method. And I think what Dan is referring to in his speech is the first class we had. And she, we were both there, and she says, okay, did you have mucus? Do you wipe front to back? Do you do all this like very intimate, private things I had no idea we were going to talk about? And I have to answer this in front of my fiance who, how do I wipe on the toilet? These kinds of things. And Dan was giving me suggestions, and she was giving me suggestions. And I was mortified. And he's so sweet. He was just like, he didn't think anything of it like, this is gross or whatever. He was just excited with me. And I was just, he took me back to my apartment. I cried the whole way home. And then we let her, I think I let her know next time, like, hey, you should give them a heads, I don't know what kind of couples you deal with. I know this is San Francisco, but like, we're not intimate. So that kind of stuff is really private. Maybe if you could give them a heads up, what kind of questions you're going to be asking, that might be respectful to the girl.
Right.
And so I told Dan, and of course he was like incredibly apologetic, and it was just, beautiful and good. He's such a pure heart. So it was not like he was trying to, do anything, but it was just like mortifyingly embarrassing for me. So I did not know anything about my cycles until I started taking these classes. And I was like, wow, 6 months. I think I started tracking maybe with 6 months to go to the wedding or something like that. I was like, this is not enough time. Like when I have daughters, they're going to know how to do this before they leave my house. They're going to know how their body works, because I had no idea. And my cycles did seem like a little bit strange. It wasn't like textbook perfect. So I was like, I don't really know what's going on. But for us, it didn't really matter. We wanted to have a baby as soon as we got married.
Oh, it didn't matter, and we weren't planning to try.
Yes, it wasn't like I needed to know it perfect so that we could avoid pregnancy. It was more like, okay, this is the method. This is how it works. Creighton always made me feel very like I hope I'm doing this right. Fingers crossed. I don't know. This is very subjective. Is this a half an inch or 3/4? I don't know. So that's my experience with Creighton. And we have, I think, 2 babies to thank Creighton for. So, so that's okay. You know, I do. It's God's plan. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, just sorry on that last comment. Mary said earlier that we always wanted to have a big family.
Oh no, we did. Yeah.
We just never would have imagined that it would happen as quickly as it did.
Right. Right.
We had 3 babies under 3 for several months.
Right.
The first 3 kids. So.
Yeah, 3 babies, 2.5 and under. Is a better way to say it.
Right. Yeah, that's
No
really
twins.
hard.
No
So
twins. Yeah.
yeah. So you guys get married and you get pregnant.
Yes. So it's so
And-
funny. Yeah,
Good.
we came back like from our honeymoon, and like 2 weeks later I got my period, and I was like, Mom, I don't know if I can get pregnant. Oh my gosh. And she's like, take it easy. And then by the next month we were expecting our oldest daughter, Sophia.
Okay. Which was a joy and very
so
welcome.
much joy. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I
So
think
great.
we
Yeah.
jumped on the bed and Dan went to Whole Foods and bought whole milk and prenatal vitamins that night.
That's so cute. So you experienced pregnancy for the first time. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, but I think you've shared that that's kind of a rough experience for you, right? You're
Oh.
very sick.
It was awful, you know, and being in the pro-life club, I was always telling people, pregnancy is so beautiful. It's a gift. Can you imagine a baby moving inside of you? Pregnancy made me feel like a washed up walrus. Like I was sick. I was just like bloated. All of my, I just had to wear them like unbuckled. I was just like, this is horrible. And no one told me.
Oh
So
my gosh.
it was mainly bad. I mean, I'm very dramatic. Okay. Maybe, but it was mainly bad because I just, you know, morning sickness for the first time was like shocking, and just like being nauseous 24/7 and like throwing up a lot was just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was like I would have wished it on my worst enemy.
That's right. That's when we learned that we were like, I don't know why they call it morning sickness.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just sickness
it's like
for
all the
us.
time
But,
sickness.
but really in like in the big scheme of things, I really don't have it that bad. So it's that first, you know, 3 months or so, and then second trimester is great, and then
Yes,
you know,
certainly other women have it.
yeah, so
much more
so much
challenging.
worse.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know, I just don't feel like myself, and it just
Right.
takes me a long time to lose the baby weight, and that kind of affects me.
Right.
And so yes, so pregnancy was, you know, it was beautiful, but it was like more challenging than I expected it to be. I was like,
Right.
okay, I thought this was going to be a beautiful gift, and it's like a lot harder.
Right.
Which,
Right.
yes, I mean, it is hard, but
Yeah. Yeah. And so you have your first daughter.
Yeah.
And then what were your plans for family planning after that?
so
Is
it's so funny. The midwives, so I delivered with midwives in a hospital, and they were like, as long as you're exclusively breastfeeding, like you don't have to worry, at least until she's 6 months old. And I was like, okay, cool. And we didn't worry. And then, and nothing happened. And I was like, I didn't even think anything could happen. And looking back, I'm like, wow, okay, that was very trusting of me. But we got pregnant with our second daughter when she was about 8 months old. And I kind of knew like, okay, you know, this might be a time where we might conceive. And it was like, that's okay. And so that wasn't as shocking. My parents were very shocked, but you know, they had 2 kids 4 years apart. So our oldest 2 daughters are 17 months apart, and we were fine with that. And then, should I keep going?
Please do. Yep. So then after your second.
And then when our second was 5 months old, or maybe I think she was 4 months old, I found out I was pregnant again. I had gotten my cycle back, and I thought, okay, now I can start tracking again. Not realizing, oh yeah, a postpartum cycle can be different than a regular cycle. And I don't know if I was monitoring fertile signs, but definitely like at the timing, I was like, we're good. And then I was like, wait a second, I don't think I've got my period. And then we found out, and Dan's so good. We found out, and I just burst into tears.
Wow.
Not happy to.
Not happy tears.
Yeah, not happy tears.
And
That's a
Dan was
lot.
like, are you okay? And I was like,
Mhm.
I think I'll be okay, but I'm not okay right now. And
Mhm.
you know, it took me about like, I don't know, half an hour to just kind of like cry and be let myself be overwhelmed and like, okay, accept that once again I'm going to go through this pregnancy and in childbirth and all of that. And within, an hour, we were already talking about names and,
Yeah.
by Christmas time, the baby will be here and kind of just looking to the future with hope.
Right.
After just having an initial breakdown.
Yeah, right. Which is understandable and acceptable. And yeah, just totally understandable. You practically just gave birth and you have two very little people. And then, to find out you're pregnant again, it's like, oh my gosh. Because at that point, it's not the idea of a child. Now you're in the practical living of raising, of having and taking care of humans all day long. And so it's not the fantasy anymore, it's the reality. And I think that's what I really like to draw attention to is like, it's one thing to know all the theology, to know all the good things. It's all good. We want to know all those things. And then boots on the ground. Wow, this is actually this is really challenging and stressful. And then it also puts a stress on our marriage. It's not just because we're married now. It's not like a silo experience. It's a community experience. So, so anyway, I think that it's important for people to hear that it's okay and you're still a wonderful practicing Catholic if you don't always respond with gymnastics when you find out you're pregnant after you just had a baby 6 months ago. Like that is just human and totally understandable. So totally understandable. So during that time though, you weren't working with an NFP teacher, following a specific method. You were just kind of going off of what you had learned in marriage prep.
Exactly. So, did I see an NFP? I can't even remember. I don't think I did, but thinking I cycle back, I was like, oh, perfect. Okay, now I just gotta count the days, or it'll be fine. Now I know where we are. And
still using Creighton.
Still using Creighton. Did not know where we were.
I would just add that this is in the context of, as we said earlier, I mean, we wanted a big family. But it was nonetheless overwhelming, particularly, and understandably for mom. And I think I was also just thinking even the Lord fell down carrying the cross. So it's a heavy burden, to be pregnant, that frequently. Not that I understand the weight of that burden.
He was
personally.
Really sweet though. He was like, just by me, do you want me to hug you? Do you want me to leave you alone? What do you want? I just needed a moment.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And again, understandable. Again, you can want a big kid. You can, always want lots of children. And it's still the reality is a lot of children are still really, it's hard. It's hard on your body. It's hard on just the adjustment, right? Of because we're selfish, we're self-centered. So the children are just very good at constantly pulling you out of yourself. So maybe we can share a little bit about, I guess kind of your mindset at that point. So pregnant with number 3, very close together. It's, were there moments where it was oh my gosh, we need to figure this NFP thing out now because I'm way done for a while. This is just not going to happen. We need to take more of a break. I need to be more intentional. Did you feel you wanted to go harder in that direction, or was it still this is overwhelming, but we're still okay. We still.
Oh my gosh, I'm pretty well.
Oh my gosh. So around this time, I started to feel very, I don't know if it must have been around this time. I felt very, is this going to be my life? Is this going to be the rest of my life? I'm just going to be pregnant all the time and it's miserable for me to be pregnant. Does God just want me to be miserable? Does that make him happy? Is that the way I'm going to get to heaven? Just, barely surviving. I don't even feel like I could really be a very good mom. I just, all these thoughts. I actually found the book called The Sinner's Guide to NFP by Simca Fisher, which I really enjoyed. She's very funny. I know people have opinions about her, but I absolutely love her. And her book was basically no, you need to discern as a couple what is the most generous thing for you to do. For some families, that might be 9 kids. For some families, that might be 2 kids. You need to discern for yourself. And, in prayer and together as a couple. And it's okay to hate it. It's okay. That's all right. You don't have to like it. But
what pregnancy?
Oh, sorry. Just NFP. The book was specifically about NFP. It's a tool for us to use to space out children. It's okay if you don't like it. I mean, you don't, and of course we know the church doesn't say like, you need to use NFP. It's there as a tool. But essentially like, it's okay to not like it. It's not like the NFP brochures where the couple is like walking through a field of flowers and smiling the whole time. It's okay to not like it. It's a sacrifice, but that's a sacrifice that's going to, take you to heaven, essentially, like, in your vocation. And so, yeah, I felt I can't remember if this was after baby number 2 or baby number 3. I kind of realized like, oh my gosh, this is going to be my life a lot. And I was very bitter for a while. And I do remember talking to my mother-in-law and talking to Dan, like, does God want me to be miserable for the rest of my life? Anyways, I also, what was the second part of that question?
We did pause.
Oh, yes. So after our 3rd daughter was born, it was like, so I think we actually do need to take a period of abstinence because this can't happen again until like I'm mentally ready. Like I feel like I am maxed out. So we did have a period of abstinence, which I know some people, and I don't mean to say like, we were such a great married couple and it wasn't hard for us. It was challenging, but I think Dan and I have like this deep friendship, and we love hanging out together. And I don't know, we laugh a lot. We're always excited to talk to each other and spend time together. It didn't feel like our marriage suffered greatly without that aspect for that period of time.
There was a grace there, which is, I feel like that's what the Lord provides us. Absolutely. Yeah.
And so it was a gift that, I think, we didn't feel like, Dan was never like, why are you withholding this? Like, he was like, I get it. Like, this is so much. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there was understanding on his part and a generosity.
And it wasn't just a one-person decision. It was you both came together. We talked about it. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's how it has to work. Like, it doesn't work if like, then it's like we're falling into sin of like, okay, now we're like hurting my relationship with my spouse by deliberately choosing something that we're not on the same page with. So,
yeah, that's a great point. And like, thanks be to God. Yeah, that could have been a much more challenging to navigate. But I could see, it was abundantly clear, like Mary said, she was maybe a little bit more than maxed out with the three little ones. I was working full time and she was at home full time with them. I was going to say something else. I forgot.
Well, while you're thinking, let me probe a little bit more about something. So just to kind of like spoiler alert for everyone, they actually have 6 kids now. So they did not stop at just the 3. But did you use that time, Mary, to like try to learn more about NFP, or were you just feeling so like, oh, like this is just, we're going to take a break,
No,
And so
I definitely knew like it was going to be a break. Like I didn't want to stop having kids. I still wanted, in my mind, when I first got married, I said at least 5. Like that was my, like in my head, like that was like the biggest number I could think of.
Right.
And so then during that time, yes. So I charted very meticulously. Like I wanted to see like, okay, where is, my cycle didn't come back for a while after that. And so like when it did, then I was just tracking. I was like, I want at least, 4 or 5 months where I can see a pattern. Okay. So that I have a little bit more certainty. I was still using Creighton at the time.
Did you work with anyone?
I don't think I did. Looking back, like, gosh, it was a little silly. But no, I had enough months where I had confidence, and it was like, okay. And also, so yeah, maybe to keep going, after my daughter was a year, after her 3rd daughter was maybe like, 12, 13, 14 months-ish, I was like, okay, like I'm ready again, which, our next daughter was 4 when our 3rd was 2, and Dan was like, this is such a huge age gap, 2 years. And I was like, honey, this is normal. What we did was a little bit unusual. So yeah, around, and yeah, there was about 2 years between them. And it felt like, okay, I could do this.
And by do this, you mean like, okay, I have the brain space to conceive again, but you also felt more confident in knowing your body.
Yes. And I feel, so the other thing was, before I got married, like I said, my fertile signs were kind of a little all over the place. I think it was also like my diet. But I think after 3 pregnancies, I don't know if my body reset or we were just eating a little bit better or whatever, but it also seemed like things were a little clearer. Like I could tell like fertile days from non-fertile days and things like that. Whereas before it was kind of like, I don't think I'm supposed to be having mucus now, but I do. I don't know.
So were you just checking mucus? Oh, sorry, Dan.
I was checking. Yeah. So it was pretty much just that we didn't. Oh no, I did buy a thermometer. I did also buy. Oh my gosh, this is like a lifetime ago. Yeah. I also bought a thermometer. I always have to remember, like, don't move. Just
basal.
the basal thermometer. Just put the thermometer in my mouth. This was before all the high tech stuff. Now I can't believe all the things now that they have.
Right.
Like you could wear like a ring or like a thing on your arm or
it tells you everything.
So many things now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you try to check temperature as like a little bit of a cross check, but you mainly feel it on.
And I think it was around that time that I started doing it because there was just like I just want certainty, and I think I used Google to help, but I don't think I ever saw a trained teacher after that initial one.
Okay,
before I got married.
And Emily and I have talked about this before, and I feel like I try to frame this in a very holistic way by saying like, you know, the methods work best regardless of your goal if you work with a trained instructor because they can help you navigate answering those questions. Like, is this a fertile day? Is this not a fertile day? What am I seeing?
Yeah.
What I don't know how to interpret this. That being said, though, like what you're expressing, Mary, and I know other women who do this too, like they are smart. And so they learn like, okay, here are the signs of fertility. They take a couple of, they go to their NFP teacher, pre-Cana, whatever it is, or they just like learn about a lot of stuff online, which you can do now. And then they just kind of, I know we've talked about this a bunch of times, Emily and I have, but we know women who say they use all the methods. They use like, they check their temperature. Yeah, they cross check everything. They want to know all the things. And that's totally fine. You can do that too. But as far as like, effectiveness goes, your confidence level goes, sometimes working with somebody to like bounce those things off can be helpful. And sometimes that someone even can just be like in your mom's group. Like you guys are all just kind of chatting about it and sharing things. But yeah, I just want to highlight that, not to show any fault with the way you did it, Mary, because there's no fault in that. It's just to help with instilling confidence in people who may not feel confident. It's knowing like, well, you can always ask for help. Like there's teachers out there who teach a lot of methods and you can reach out to them and they can give you some counsel and some assistance. So,
yeah.
Just wanted to point that too. So
good point.
Okay. So you reach a point where you are a little caught your breath, feeling more confident in your body, understanding the signs of fertility. And then you and Dan decide, okay, well, we think we'd like to achieve again. And so you guys are able.
So I think you were just like, okay, I'm not going to track anymore. Or I don't think it was that I'm not going to track, but it was just like, we're just going to we're going to not be avoiding. And I actually signed to run a half marathon that year. And I was running with my friend the half marathon. And I was like, I think I'm pregnant. And she was like, what? I was like, I haven't got my period. But I was like totally at peace. I was like, okay, yeah. Like usually when we stop avoiding, like, bam, we were pregnant. And so she was like, oh my gosh. And then the next day I took her pregnancy test and I was pregnant. And so I was like, hey, I was pregnant.
I was right.
I was right. And so that was our 4th daughter. And we met right around the time that I found out I was pregnant because we had you over for dinner for the first time. And I was like, we just found out we're expecting number 4. And you were like, what?
Yeah.
And I think you were also expecting at the time, but you were very kind and gracious, and you didn't even say anything. You just let that be my night.
I was so excited. Yeah, I was so excited.
You're so kind.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so our 4th daughter was born, and she was born. And funny aside, Amy's son was actually due 2 weeks before my daughter, but my daughter was born 2 weeks early, and her son was born 2 weeks late, so they're a month apart.
And she's
actually older.
That's so funny. I do remember that. Yes, that is really funny.
So, so she was born, and she was actually born with some medical complications. And I just remember thinking, like, Lord, like I've been like generous, like I can't do this again. Like she had a surgery when she was just a month old, and there was going to be ongoing things with her, and I was just like, I can't do this again. Like it just made me realize, wow, every time a baby is born completely healthy, it's just a complete and total miracle. And I'm just afraid. I'm afraid to have another baby. And like 4 is generous. 4 is a lot. I just kept telling myself, like, that's a lot. Okay. Like, and I don't know if I was thinking back. I guess you remember this probably more than I do. I was like, was I completely closed off? Was I just like, that's it?
Well, Mary, there was a lot going on. And because she had the medical conditions, Mary pumped for 6 months for her.
Oh,
She did not
it was
nurse.
8 months. Yeah.
8
Actually, I think it
months.
was
Oh my
7 months,
gosh.
and then I had like another month of supply. But
Yeah, exclusively pumped.
Exclusively pumped. Mary did not nurse. She exclusively pumped.
Because of the baby's condition. Yeah.
I remember, like, you are a saint. I pray.
gosh,
I'm like,
no,
I just envision myself in that situation. I'm like, totally would have used formula. Totally would have used formula.
Well,
I
looking
love
back,
pumping.
I think it was just like I felt helpless and like I wanted to do everything I could for her. So it was like it helped me to do something for her.
Mhm.
And then when it didn't, when I was like getting like I can't do this anymore, then I stopped. I stopped at like 7 months. I had one more month of milk in the freezer, and that was it.
Right.
And then we did switch to formula. So my mom said the same thing, like you're doing too much. I was like, this is the least I could do for her. Like I need to do this for her.
It was beautiful to watch. I mean, that whole experience, what you guys went through, that was just like, I mean, so hard and so amazing, and just how God worked through that. I think it was just really, I felt very touched to be able to be in your lives at that point and kind of observe it. So it was pretty powerful.
And she's fine now, and everything is fine, but kind of just like, sitting in the hospital, like finding out and just looking into the future, like what is going to happen. Like, I don't even, is she going to be able to speak? Right. Like all of these things, like I just didn't know. And so, very much like, no, the answer is no for kids, at least for the foreseeable future. I think we might be done. I don't know. Like, it was just like, no.
Yeah. Yep.
And so
I remember those conversations, Mary, very, very clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I do. Like, oh yeah. Like, and kind of the irony of like, oh yeah, another one. Like, this is great, and then it was like a switch almost of like, oh my gosh, Lord. And I feel like this is just so relatable. This is so relatable, I think, Mary, to almost anyone. It's like, Lord, I totally trust you. Totally trust you. And then something happens. It's like, whoa, excuse me. Like, I totally trusted you. All done now. Like, you just lost it. Like, that was it. That was your chance, buddy. And you blew it. Like, taking back the reins.
And I thank God for the grace that I thank God for the grace. I never thought like, why did you do this to me, Lord? Or like, I didn't feel like, why us? Like, I just felt like, okay, this happened. We need to deal with it. But I was like, but I'm not signing up for more.
Right.
Like,
right.
I'm not signing up for more.
Yep.
And so that was my feeling for a while.
Right. And everyone take note, God did not spite Mary down with like, a flame from heaven or anything. Like, this is just like the evolution of a relationship, like this, you go through something hard. It's like, woo, all right, I'm done with this one. This is my last hard. Like, this is really hard, and I'm good for a while, I'm good.
So that was my last hard. But then of course, we still, we still,
you honored and like teaching, right?
Yeah. And if we had gotten pregnant, it would have been absolutely fine. And,
right.
But it was when maybe my fourth daughter. Did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I think some of our discussions or discernment at the time was, we're still want to be open to life, but we're not on our end, not going to try to proactively conceive. But like Mary was saying, but if it did happen, God's will be done. Then at least we know we weren't opting into it, which again is also something, as we said earlier, with part of the earlier discussion. Yeah, it was a joint, discussion and decision, but I would say very much Mary led. Respectful of her kind of limitations and sort of comfort level. Whereas, not that I'm sort of patting my own back, but I think over the years when Mary's started to be comfortable with trying to have another baby, thanks be to God, I've been there and with her and like, okay, great, let's go for it.
Yeah, Dan will have as many children as I'm okay with. Like, if I was like, let's have 10 kids, he'd be like, all right, let's do it.
I don't know if I go that far. One kid at a time, but
I do have a question, actually. This is I think it kind of touches into what you were saying. So more maybe for you, Dan, but Mary, if you have thoughts too. So, and I've observed this in marriage. So this is a very personal question. If you don't want to answer it, we can move on to the next thing. But I have observed and experienced in different ways, right? Because just our humanness, you enter a marriage with expectations about yourself, about the marriage, about the spouse, about my spouse. And one of the expectations I think sometimes that I've seen, especially in couples who come to marriage on board with church teaching, let's do all the kids, let's have all the things. Then they start the practical having the children, the reality of having the children. And one spouse is maybe like, you know what? The 10 kids sounded great when they were in theory. And now at number 3, it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm feeling 10. Like, to Mary's point, like 4 sounds generous or 3 sounds generous. This sounds good. And so the other spouse, in a way, might not resents a harsh word, but an expectation of like, well, hang on. Like, I thought we were going to be this like go power couple, all the kids, all the things. And now we might not. Like, that's a little disappointing. So, and that's, if you have not experienced that, that's fine. I know couples that have. And it's like the Lord has to work on everyone's heart in that situation to say like, yeah, remember, because this marriage is not about you. So maybe you thought it was going to look like this, and she thought it was going to look like this, or he thought it was going to look like this, and she thought it was going to look like this, but I want it to look like this. Like, this is the number of kids I had in mind. And, kind of recentering it back on God. So yeah, any thoughts about that?
Yeah, lots of thoughts. I mean, I think again, it's such tender and holy ground. This discernment, and I think within faithful Catholic culture, understandably so, we tend to be people tend to be sensitive to, well, the couple shouldn't be selfish by limiting the number of children, or maybe overly limiting the number of children. But likewise, and I think you're kind of hinting at this, or maybe you're sort of making a similar point. Likewise, I think the couple can't be selfish in sort of being potentially even making an idol out of what my own vision is or was for my family, for the family that I was going to have, or that God was going to give me. So I think that ongoing discernment is just so, and that ongoing kind of docility to the I was going to say the will of the Lord, but even just the kind of movement of the Spirit and of your hearts is so important, that you're both growing in humility and docility to the Lord. And yes, not trying to be vigilant about not letting either one of each other slide into or risk becoming overly selfish, while at the same time maintaining and hopefully growing in just a deeply sensitive and tender respect for each other's heart, each other's whether it's limitations or weaknesses or just hesitations. Yeah, and I think that the complexities there of navigating those things is exactly why, or not exactly why, but is one of the grace-filled occasions for having living sort of an NFP approach to marriage. And we have some beautiful friends who, what do they call it? The providential? Yeah, kind of the providential method, basically just have
no tracking, no nothing. They just do whatever.
No system for trying to avoid or to conceive. Just go with what the Lord sends you, which is as beautiful. But yeah, that's not what we've felt called to, and I think this is also a very beautiful and enriching path. But it doesn't mean it's an easy or simple one to navigate.
Yeah, well put. I agree. Anything, Mary, you want to add to that?
There was, when you were talking, I was thinking of something, but we'll let Ken have the last word on that one.
Okay. So, okay, so let's kind of go back to, I remember so vividly.
Hey, Amy.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, one quick thing I will add to that, that I was started to say earlier, but forgot. I think it's still relevant. Is when we had our abstinence, Mary said, yeah, it's not like sort of strained our marriage very much. And thanks be to God, because what I was thinking is like, some of us maybe have had experience during Lent where like you give something up, and like because it's sort of not even an option anymore, you don't think about it as much. I think that's a grace of like, okay, Lord, thank you for making this a little bit easier. But it could have been the opposite, where you sometimes you might give something up, and like because you're giving it up, you can't stop thinking about it. So thankfully, our hearts maybe more landed on or were guided to that first scenario, but it definitely could have gone either way. And I think it's similar with navigating kind of some of the discernment I was talking about a minute ago with number of kids and timing.
Right. And I think it speaks to, and I know, Mary, you've expressed this to me too, is like one of the things that a lot of people in the NFP teaching world have moved to is like, how can we get people to know this about their body, how their body works, well before we get to the season of marriage.
Oh, yes.
Well before they get to the season of marriage or engagement even. Like if you can just know how your cycle works, how to observe things and feel confident in
Just
that.
for your health too, to
Your
know like,
health,
oh,
for
like
sure.
my cycles are really short or like really long, or
Yes.
I'm seeing stuff that I don't think I'm supposed to see, or just all of that.
Yes, to know your body, as part of knowing thyself, is really, it's a beautiful thing, and it will bear fruit for a long time. Like, and it really does make. I feel like I'm the old woman sounding, beating the drum, but it's like it will make a lot of aspects of practicing. Whether you're trying to achieve or avoid pregnancy, practicing certain aspects of chastity in your marriage. It's just really helpful if you kind of go in knowing what's going on. And for the man too, to not be completely unaware of kind of how bodies work and how the complementarity works.
I was just thinking about that. And the only thing I'll say on that is men need to be sort of called to and hear and feel the invitation to a greater reverence for the beauty and wonder of a female body.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the male and female body, because both are wonderful, made in God's image, unique, and yes, complementary.
Amen.
So
Amen.
have to work together. So I know we need to wrap up here. I guess before we do, I just want to. I remember talking, Mary, with you after you had your fourth daughter, who is just so fun. I just love her so much, and maybe I'm biased as like she's one of my favorites because she's the closest to my son, and she's just so spunky and full of life. I just love
firecrackers.
all your daughters are just beautiful. I haven't gotten to know your sons as much, but your daughters are just beautiful. But I do remember you talking to me. I don't know if you're gonna remember this or not. If you're not okay with me sharing this, tell me and I will cut it out. But I remember chatting with you at your house. I think kids were napping, the girls were at school, and we were sitting on your couch, and you guys were getting ready to move back to California. And I forget what we were talking about. I think like motherhood, and you described the closeness in age of your daughters as like the Lord beating your will out of you. It was reflecting back on it, you saw it as like, I think like I got to a point where I just was so like powerless, like helpless. Like I just was like, okay, Lord, like there's like nothing left of me here.
This is probably what I said. I probably said I was like a rock at the bottom of a waterfall, just being pounded, like no escape, no way out. It's just like, it's going to keep coming. It's not stopping.
Right.
And I said this before.
But you were kind of, I think, a little further removed from her medical experience. So, you know, you were kind of like, she was napping and eating well, like all these things, you were kind of getting back into like the rhythm of, life and sanity after like the newborn. And in your case, like a very hectic newborn season. And so, kind of coming out, I call it like coming out of the fog.
Mm-hmm.
Just then we might be more in a proper place to discern future number of children. It's always funny when like when I encounter women like after they have a baby and like, especially if women know that like I do NFP stuff and they kind of like say like almost in like a half guilty way, like they don't actually just say it out loud, but what they want to say, which is totally understandable, is like, you just had a baby. It's like, I don't want to have another baby right now. I'm like, you just had a baby. It's okay to say that right now.
Yeah.
Like, like give yourself some time, because then what happens is you come out of the fog, you're a year or two later, right? And you're like, oh, okay, I actually could see how having another baby is possible. It's like, I always see it. Like I always see the pattern kind of unfold. It's like, that's not the time to be thinking about it right after you have a baby. But then as time moves, like you start to think about it. So anyway, I say all that to say, this was kind of Mary thought at that time. And then I remember, I think you left me like a message because we had moved away from each other. After you had your 6th, or maybe it was after the 5th. I think it might have been after the 5th, Mary. I can't remember. But you were like, Amy, it was the first time, you'll hopefully remember, like it was the first time after I had the baby that like right away I thought I could have another baby. Can you kind of share a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, after my 4th daughter, it was hard, and I was just like not open. And I'll just quickly tell the story of our 5th, because it was a total grace again. Like, and maybe when she was about 2, I started having these not visions, but like this image would come to me of the moment they give you the baby, the moment you give birth, and the moment they put the baby on you. I couldn't stop thinking about this. And I texted Dan, because we were like, we're not trying again. We're just, if it happens, great, but we're not trying. I texted Dan, I think we should have another baby. And I was actually visiting family, and we were apart. And he like, I don't know if you called me or you like sent a crying emoji or I don't know, something like, he was like, really? Are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And I think it should be as soon as possible. It was just like a supernatural thing. Like, yeah. And so we conceived him and had him, and he was born in 2020. And then again, I was like, okay, but 5 is it. That's it. I'm good at 5. I'm good with 5. And then I went on a retreat. It's really just like, it's the Lord like opening my heart. It's not really me doing anything. I guess I'm open to hearing him, and I want to do his will. But I went on a retreat. We had the 5. And the priest said, what is the Lord asking you to do that maybe you don't want to face? And I was like, Lord, you better not be are you asking me to have another baby? Like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm tired. I get so fat when I'm pregnant. Like all of these like very shallow things. And I was like, I don't want to do it. And I asked the priest, I was like, do you think I could, in confession, I was like, can I just like adopt a baby? Like what? And he was like, well, I'm the youngest of 7, so I'm a little biased. And I was like, okay, bring it up, Father. I'm not asking you anymore. So essentially I came back from the retreat feeling like I got out of the car, I hugged in, and the first thing I said to him is, I think we should have another baby. And he was like, how did the retreat go? But anyways, yes. So we had our 6th baby. So blessed by him. And after I had him, I almost felt right away like I want another baby. Like my heart was just like longing again for another baby, even though I was like holding a newborn in my arms. I don't know how or why I really feel like it was completely supernatural. I mean, also practically speaking, our oldest was 11 at the time. And it's such a different world when you have a baby and your kids, like, not all of them are in diapers. They can get themselves ready. Like they can cook their own breakfast. They can help, when our 6th was born, the 3 oldest girls who were born the closest together were all say together, can I get him out of his crib? And it was like, yes, you can help.
Oh, when he started crying.
When he started crying, yes.
Can I help? Can I help? Yeah.
When he would wake up. It was just a completely different experience. It was so much easier and so much like, I feel like I do have the capacity to say yes right away. And so, yes, it's been a completely different experience. And we have prayed very much for another baby. I will share that, we did conceive our 7th baby last October, almost a year ago. We did, I ended up having a miscarriage. So we have one of our children in heaven praying for us. But yeah, we still feel very much open, and are praying for another baby. And it's funny that in this time in my life, there were so many years where I was closed off and I was like, I can't do this. No, I'm not being open. Because the moment that we said we would conceive. And now in this past year or so, longing to have a baby, and not being able to conceive. And not that, I guess that attempted to, is this a punishment for all the years I was closed off? But but then I remember like, okay, life is a gift, and the Lord, he wants to teach me something in this. And just to leave it at that, and to, as much as I can, trust him, and try not to overthink it. Although I feel like there are times when, my cycle will start over to my period, and I'll be really sad. So yeah, it's kind of a strange time to be open and not be able to conceive when we have, been able to conceive so easily in the past.
Yeah, I think
Right.
only thing I would add to that, just to kind of summarize, looking back earlier in the conversation, Amy, I think when Mary first said that she had the sad or conflicted reaction, we found out about she was expecting our third daughter. If you were like, listen up, people, God did not smite her for that. I just wanted to say, like, yeah, not only did he not sort of punish her for that raw and vulnerable reaction, but on the contrary, I think over the years now, having shared more of our story, he's gradually wooed and gradually softened her heart, little by little. And to your point, Mary, in this most recent phase over the past year, God, the Lord, just continuing to thankfully show us or guide us to hit, whatever his will is, not just letting us kind of get our own will whatever and whenever we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm sorry, Mary, were you gonna say something?
Oh, just briefly, I was going to say, yeah, because even thinking about when we conceived our seventh, it kind of was on our timing. And I had thought, like, okay, great. Like, he's going to be born for the summer, and it's not going to be too hot when I'm pregnant, and they'll be close in age. And I had all these plans. And not that the Lord took him for that reason, but it was kind of like, actually, like, I'm in control, and I have plans for you, which maybe not be your plans. And so as much as you can, conform your heart and your will to my own, and be at peace with that.
Sorry, and I think last thing on that topic for me is I do think it's important to say so many other couples, especially we know several who have experienced many more miscarriages than we have. But for me, it's been very fruitful to reflect on it as we have 6 children still suffering through our very imperfect care, and one child who lucked out and is in the arms of, in the care of, the Blessed Mother and our Lord, just praying for us from heaven. So it's not to say that it's not sad. It's certainly a sad time, but at the same time, something a beautiful, I think, eternal reality to be blessed with.
And I'm sorry, I only keep saying last thing, but last thing. It was actually, it was my first miscarriage, and it was actually such a beautiful experience to go through with the children. They knew we were expecting, we told them, and then I started having like some signs of like something might be going on. We didn't, obviously didn't say anything. And then it happened. And they're, when we shared it with them, and they were very sad, and but their questions were so beautiful and innocent, like, will he grow up in heaven? And I forget, there were so many things. And the night that it happened, we were all together in the living room, and we were just like imagining him in heaven, and does he know this, does he know that? And it's like he knows everything now, like he's with the Lord. And even today, like, so we named him John Peter, and the kids always talk about him. We only knew him in my tummy for a month, and we talk about him like all the time. Like when I say 6 kids, sometimes we have 6 kids. My daughter will be like, we actually have 7, and but he's in heaven. And it's not like, it's not sad. It's beautiful. It's joyful. He's still part of the family. And so it was very, I feel for women who have miscarriages, and they, early in their marriages, and they endure it alone, because I almost had,
particularly late term or
of course,
later,
yeah.
So
But to go through it with the kids, and like, I was like edified by their faith. Like they helped me through it. And it was just very healing and beautiful experience as a family. Even though it was very sad, it was still like there was so much beauty. And we did have so much joy like in the short time I knew about him.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm pregnant now, and when we went to a restaurant for something, I forget what, but we walk in and they ask how many, you know, and Joey's like 5, and Max looks at me, he's like, well, actually 6, Mom, because of the baby in my belly. So they don't like to leave him out either. And it's so sweet. It gives me, I'm like, what? It takes me a second. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well done.
And they just always address, you know, they want to kiss my belly. They just know that, you know, this is a person in there. And I think, you know, of all the bad things Joey and I've done, all the bad examples we have given our children, I feel eternally grateful that my children at least know that there is a baby in my belly, that it is a human person, and that we love this person already. And yeah, should this person not make it to the outside, this side of heaven, it'll be very sad. And he's already been so loved. So I agree. I'm like, all right, Lord, I've done a lot of bad stuff, but you got to at least give me credit. Okay. At least know that it's a baby in there. Do I get a little shaved off time at some point? Because that's really cool that they know that. So, and they're excited. So yeah, it's beautiful to have. I think that's when we say, you know, creating a pro-life culture is just drawing the, you know, attention to the life that's growing inside is really very special. And I'm so sorry for your loss, you guys. Again, that it is very sad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very sad. So, but also, yeah, you do have an angel in heaven. I forget, there was a friend from Arkansas, and she would say that because she'd miscarried quite a few times, and she would say, whenever I said, she never like seemed super sad about it. In fact, I would always say, gosh, I'm so sorry, you know, as my first response. And she's like, are you kidding me? That was the easiest soul to get there. And I was like, okay, that's a cool perspective to have.
God bless her. That's beautiful.
She was sad too, but like, it's almost like she was like, phew, like that one was easy, you know, but all these other ones I got.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful faith.
Yeah, what a beautiful faith. Absolutely. And you guys have a beautiful faith. So thank you for taking time tonight to share your story. I think it's, well, I know it's just really beautiful, and I know it's going to inspire a lot of people to know that you can have all the right formation, you can have all the good intention, you can have all the things, all the knowledge, all the theology, and you're just human, and it's hard, and God is going to, and no one's perfect yet. We haven't reached sainthood. And so it's always better to start marriage on the same page, and the way that you guys did. I mean, you gave yourself the best foundation, right? Because then when the storm came, the whole thing didn't crumble. It was like, whoa, like we're being rattled here. And the Lord was right there with you to meet you and to grow you and to pursue you and to move you through it. So
yeah, the Lord, the Blessed Mother gave us a good foundation. Thanks be to God.
Yeah. And then just that being open, like I wasn't ready to hear his voice, but then I was like, okay, I'll listen to you, or, you know, I'll at least listen to what you have to say, and then let him work on my heart.
Talking about like at the retreat.
At the retreat. Yeah. Just like moments where I was like, I feel like he's calling me to this. No, I'm not ready. Okay, fine. Like, and this was, sorry.
This is great.
The moments where I was not ready. And then I said, okay, fine. Yes, I will do it. Just like immense peace. And yeah, that was one element I forgot to mention.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just this peace, like, okay, yes, Lord. Like I stop resisting and I just like fall into your arms. Like, okay, yes.
It's like part of the beauty of dying to self. And I've just been reflecting on the terrible image Mary has shared several times with me of the rock underneath the waterfall. But it's almost like the Lord saying like, okay, yeah, it might hurt, but I'm trying to push you toward, you know, this next view that's just like this glorious view, or like you push past the waterfall that was raining down, and you look back and you're like, wow, that is beautiful. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. It's kind of maybe some of the phases of the journey, and then, you know, maybe there's another waterfall that you get stuck under a couple years later. But Lord, lead us deeper, however you want.
Amen.
Right? Yeah. 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 So beautiful. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Amy, for asking us.
Yeah, this was really great. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys. All right, everybody. Well, I will list the books that they shared in the show notes, so for people that are interested to go check those out. And thank you again so much. It was a really enjoyable conversation, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you so much, Amy. God bless.
That wraps up another episode of the NFP podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found our discussion enlightening and empowering. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please connect with us by sending us an email with your questions and stories to thenfpshow@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with more insights, tips, and heartfelt conversations about natural family planning. Until then, love responsibly.